Bpod Studios.
Dutcher and Hardy, the reviews are in.
I got to say, I don't want to talk about you. Give me about 5 minutes of my time.
What he said. Now more of on the Sports Hub.
Hey, we're Dutcher and Hardy, and this hour of our show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. When James Stewart, he tweeted out that entire interview, if you want to hear it and watch it, with Mike Lombardi that Felger Maz did yesterday. He said we're joined by @Mike Lombardi NFL, and it's either brilliant or just factual. He says we're joined by @M Lombardi NFL of the GM Shuffle podcast and the Daily Coach newsletter, and had an all-time debate about the Patriots. So his bona fides now are the GM Shuffle podcast. Not to get you excited, Wallach. It is not the Curly Shuffle.
Oh.
It is the GM Shuffle podcast. The Curly Shuffle is its more successful brother. And the Daily Coach newsletter. If you're pumping out a newsletter, Lord knows you've reached the top of your game and should be talking down to everyone. That my life now is doing guest spots on radio shows, not hosting one. I host a podcast and doing the GM Shuffle newsletter.
Hey, Mo! Hey, Mo! Hey, Mo!
And speaking of novelties, I could auction off this dog that Hardy made out of a balloon. Hardy, every time I give you guys content from ESPN,
you get a balloon animal. I thought about this before, and hopefully we'll have another golf tournament this year, the Sports Hub Who's Your Caddy. For years, as a fundraising effort, I've wanted Zoe to do caricatures of people, like set them up at an easel and have them do caricatures.
You think you can get Zolak to sit still for that long?
I think if he's doing something and he's actively, busy, then he could do it.
He's going to see a shiny object and leave the easel, no problem.
He's good. He is a talented, artist. And he can do caricatures, and they're funny, and they're good. How much do you think people would pay for a Scott Zolak original caricature of themselves? Like you and a buddy, if you're a fan of the station, a fan of Zoe, what would you fork over for that?
Well, if you have a dead animal, he'll do it for free, as he did when my cat died, and he had it 6 feet underground with the ghost of the cat rising, and it was a very accurate. It looked lifelike. The caricature of the cat dead.
But the cat didn't die that first time. The cat actually survived that.
Whatever. It was close to death, and he did that. So he'd do that for free. But I think that that people would pay enough that it would be, kind of revolting. People would be, willing to, fork over enough cash where you would be like, oh, my God.
A few $100s and do that 5-10 times throughout the course of the golf tournament. That's a lot of money raised for the Floating Children's Hospital. But I'd be willing to throw in a balloon animal. Hey, take this with you. So
because I feel if you're watching on Twitch, twitch.tv, and look out for record numbers. This was made by Hardy's own hands. He blew up the balloon himself. He knew to leave a portion of the balloon blown up, so he could, at the end, make a tail, and then he said for me to just blow, and I went, in the air, just into the ether.
It's not my first sculpture, Fred.
And it came into a little bulbous thing at the end of the tail. The knot that he tied became the nose. This is a craftsman.
Yeah.
This is a man who did not spend his high school adolescence the way that most people did.
A lot more of that came from, Fred, if you play your cards right, and if you're willing to share stuff from your ESPN Insider account.
I also don't want to get sued by ESPN, though, or the Disney Corporation for sharing insider content.
Oh, yeah.
And why should I have to be the one who pays?
Did you ever do that with a boxing stream? I did that for the Mayweather McGregor fight. I watched it via someone else holding their phone up to the TV who paid for the fight.
I picked my son up during the Kansas City-Miami game. I picked him up from a friend's house, and I was in the car, and I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I was watching the game. I'm like, oh, they had Peacock? And he's like, no. And then he gave me this website, and the website has every game and every sporting event going on, regardless of where. And he was just like, yeah, you don't have this website?
My kid did the same thing to me.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean you're not watching a game? How are you watching it? You're in your room. How are you watching it? He's like, Dad, here.
And it's a website. It's not like you don't have to jump through any hoops or anything.
That's
it's
right.
like literally just a website, and it just gives you links to click, and you just click the link, and then you're watching the game. Like, it doesn't ask for, like, information or anything.
No.
It's just someone, I don't know why. They're probably stealing all your information, but have fun with it.
That's the thing. I said to my son, you realize they're tracking you, right? And it made him stop for like 5 seconds. And it's like, F you. Dad.
Well, has your son one of your sons ever told you they've made money playing video games? Like, I finally got money, like, playing Fortnite. And you're like, well, how did you get money? Well, my friend handed it to me. Well, how did he get the money? Well, they put it in, they send you an email with the money in it. Well, that doesn't sound right.
Is that how it works?
He's like, they send
Silly
you.
me.
This was my conversation in the car with him yesterday. He's like, yeah, my friend gave me $50. I go, where's the $50? And I don't want to sound like a dick. It's hard for me. But, like, I'm like, where's the $50? He's like, it's in my bag. I didn't ask to see it. I'm like, it's cash money. He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. He's like, yeah, we won $100 playing Fortnite, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, how did he get the money? He's like, well, they sent him an email. I'm like, yeah, but an email doesn't give the money. He didn't give I'm like, he didn't give the people his banking information. He's like, banking information. I'm like, how did the money go from Fortnite? And he's like, well, it's the gaming company, whatever gaming company. It's the gaming company. And they're a huge company, Dad. I understand, but how did they get the money to him? Like, and I'm like, you understand you never give any of your personal information. He doesn't even know what a bank is, let alone his banking information. But I'm like, you understand. Like, I get stuff from Amazon, in quotations, that says there's been a problem, or something from the post office that says your delivery didn't come through.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever been at the post office where an old lady is, like, complaining about how her delivery didn't come through, and they're like, let me see the email, and they're like, this isn't from us? No. And then the old lady, and then you might as well just leave, because the old lady's going to be there, like, sunrise, sunset, sunset. Like, the old lady's going to be there for a while. But it's called phishing, and then so if you want to scam kids, look no further than video games. They'll believe anything.
Couple of music stories here, Fred. This is going to be very exciting for you. This was just announced. A band coming to TD Garden August 31st. Very impressed that they are playing the Garden to perform their iconic album Morning View in its entirety, plus the hits. Talking about Incubus.
They're playing where?
TD Garden with special guests Coheed and Cambria. The pre-sale tickets start tomorrow. Yes, 10 a.m. with the code STELLAR. You are stellar.
I don't even know that song.
Yes, you do. You are stellar.
You sound like exactly like them.
Thank you. So
the TD Garden Incubus is playing.
Performing the album Morning View in its entirety.
Which one's
plus
Morning
the
View?
Hits.
It's not the first album with the hits. So they have to perform a album, but then add on, by the way, there's some hits.
Well, because
what was on Morning View?
The show would only be 45 minutes long if you just did.
Well, he could babble his poetry. By the way, he was on Reservoir Dogs, which was a great show that I respect. And he played Jesus, a bum who thought he was Jesus. I got very upset at the people from Reservoir Dogs for liking Brandon Boyd.
Oh, the track listing for Morning View, Nice to Know You, Goodbye.
What's Nice to Know? Oh, yeah, I know that song. Okay.
The song Circles.
How did Circles go? I just want to hear you sing.
There are lots of circles, and they're all round. And if we... I don't know this.
So it was teaching you about shapes? They were going
My
after they
favorite
might be
is
giants?
the spherical ones.
That's right. Wish You Were Here. You know that
Yeah,
song.
I know, of course.
Dig My Toes into the Sand.
Wish You Were Here is fantastic because I told you when they're doing Conan O'Brien, it's Brandon Boyd earnestly like holding the mic stand and like closing his eyes, and right over his shoulder, the only member of the band you can see is the DJ. And you're just like, when did the label tell you to get the DJ? Because he wasn't in the band. And what band inspired you to get the DJ? Was it the Biscuit?
Run DMC.
Yeah, exactly.
The song Warning, which was a mild hit.
Okay.
Remember Incubus Warning? And then what else is on there? Echo, Have You Ever? Are You In? Was the other.
These are all. See, this isn't even a bad song. And it would be great. until, listen. So you're like, all right, this is cool.
It's got a groove to it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with this at all. I'm not going to pretend there is. So you're like, this is a pretty good band. What's going on here? And then you go, why? Why? Why?
The sky looks like a backlit canopy. Across a blue blanket.
It looks like, so the moonlight coming off the things looks like a million diamonds. This man is a poet among us. And he wishes that he was there with some broad.
There's a lot of broads who wish they were there with Brandon Boyd. He is a dreamboat.
I know. You would think that he would have a little less self-reverence.
Also, Colts owner Jim Irsay appears to be doing better.
Yeah, Incubus, man. All right.
Not a lot going on in terms of news from the Colts owner.
I'm cool, man. Getty came by and said, what's up?
Well, the Colts, January 9th, released a statement saying he was undergoing treatment for severe respiratory illness.
You know why we're the Colts, man? Molly Hatchet's first album. He's riding Steed.
This was a month after authorities found him unresponsive in his home. That was December 8th.
Man.
Authorities...
Don't listen to him. Listen to Lombardi. What happened? Davey Gilmore, man. I bought his guitar. I bought a sheet of acid that the original singer took and freaked out.
Hey, Quentin, what's up, man?
That's right.
If I could remember his name, it'd be a better reference.
But now he is...
Sid?
He has not been heard or seen publicly since December. It has now been almost 2 months since this incident.
I've been laying low, man.
All they keep telling me and all they've told me is how damn good you are.
Sid Barrett is who I was looking for.
Very good. 64 years old, a lot of health.
64 years young, man.
A lot of health challenges. But
Yeah.
apparently, the team.
Will you still love me when I'm 64? If I come to your town and give you a free museum if you watch me play. Hey, man, you want to see Keith Moon's left ball?
Really have that?
Yeah, in a jar. But you got to watch me play. Come out. Come on. I got a testicle in a jar.
What were the size of the checks he had to write? He had legitimate people up there and touring with him, like Mike Mills from REM.
Mike Mills just loves sports. He
Apparently.
no, he does. Like, he's like, in Atlanta, he was super into sports.
Well, I love sports too, but I'm not going to go hang and talk about lowering yourself. I'm going to sound like Mike Lombardi here. But don't you think that's kind of lowering yourself to be Mike Mills and get up there and play bass for Jim Irsay's band?
He has the bona fides that you cannot take away. He has the bona fides. He has been in the trenches, my friend. And once you have, you can just enjoy your golden years as far as I'm concerned. But some of us aren't cynics. No. Mike Gorman will join us, a good friend of ours. Mike Gorman will join us and talk all about his journey and the Celtics and everything else. And if the sky at night looks like a backlit canopy with holes punched in it, and if that indeed isn't just literal and not poetry at all, it's just literally what it would look like. That doesn't seem to have many deep meanings at all. It's just I looked at the sky and this is what it would look like to me. That's not poetry, kids. All right, we'll be right back.
BackstageCountry.com, your online home for all things country music. Lainey Wilson is on a roll. She's delivering great music and teaming up with some of country's hottest acts. Text Lainey to 45911 to see which 4 Lainey Wilson collabs have us talking at BackstageCountry.com. Text Lainey to 45911 to get a link to the list sent right to your phone from BackstageCountry.com.
Now, more Tuncher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Mike Gorman. We're Toucher and Hardy. Mike Gorman is the voice of the Boston Celtics for NBC Sports Boston, and Mike is brought to you by Bentley University. Proud partner of the Boston Celtics, preparing the next generation of business leaders to be a force on and off the court. Bentley University, a force for business, a force for good. Mike joins us on the Volkswagen Dealers Expert Hotline. Hello, Mike.
Hello there.
How are you?
I'm hanging in. He's also Bentley is also the home of Dick Light, who is the greatest statistician who ever lived.
You're making as bold a statement as to saying that gentleman is the greatest statistician who ever lived.
Ever lived, yeah. I mean that seriously. He is. I've worked with NBC. I've worked with all the networks. I've worked with all the people that they travel around as the stats guys, and there isn't one of them that can hold a candle to Dick.
Okay, so when you're broadcasting, so there's you and Scalabrini, or back in the day, you and Tommy, obviously. Now, who else is in your ear, and what are their jobs?
Well, the producer's in our ear.
Okay.
That's about the only one. The director stays out unless we talk to him. Ask to talk to him. He'll stay out of it. But the producer's the only guy who really talks to us. The stat guy's seriously silent. What Dick does is, let's say, Fred, you go 4 for 5 at the free throw line. And I say that. He immediately slips a piece of paper in front of me that says, the last time he went 4 for 5 at the free throw line was blah, 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 blah. It's just amazing what he comes up with in very short periods of time. So he reacts to what I'm saying and then tries to take it one step beyond. And I swear, I'm not being falsely modest or anything here. He has written 75% of what I say on here.
Wow. Okay, so before the internet, how did people get that information? I know you had to call Elias. I've actually been around when the call to Elias has been made. It's very exciting.
Yeah.
But how did you, the Elias Sports Bureau, but how did you guys, did he just know it? How did he get that information?
Well, number one, he would just know it. But number two, which really would be number one, is he just had, before we had the internet, he had stuff out there in front of him. He had 2 or 3 different computers. He had telephone lines running into different things. It was amazing what he had going on, but he was able to come up with things when we needed them. And Scal challenges him all the time, and Scal gets beaten down every time because Dick is back with some obscure question that Scal has asked. He's got the answer to in a minute. I mean, really, he's amazing. He's really, truly amazing.
So you're saying if you ever go out to trivia and there is a basketball thing, the guy's running the category. There's no stopping him. He knows everything that's ever happened.
Yeah, he's right there at, I got hoops for 100. All right. Yeah.
Now, when you traveled with him and stuff, was he just like always consuming basketball stuff?
He never traveled.
Okay.
He never travels. No. He's got a real job. I mean, he's the vice president over at Bentley, I think, he's involved in the athletic department.
Oh, so he just did it for fun?
40 years. Yeah. But the very first game I ever did in the Boston Garden of the Boston Celtics was the Celtics against the Indiana Pacers. And the rifleman, Chuck Person was there. They called him the rifleman at the time. Anyway, I walked into the overhang, the gondola, used to be the old Boston Garden. It's a broadcast position. And there's a kid sitting there. And I said, we're going to do the broadcast from here. He said, yeah, I know. I used to do the stats for Roger Twybo, who had done some games in Boston before. I was hoping I could do them for you. I said, well, give it a try and see what happens. And that was 42 years ago. And he's been there every game since.
So he just came up to you randomly and said, like, hey, I used to do stats. And you were like, all right, cool. Just come in and sit down. And
everybody else, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I'm so nervous about tipping and doing it myself. I didn't even know you could bring your own stat guy. Now they fly their own stats guy around, which is really kind of cool.
And look at that twist of fate. Look at that. You just, by that twist of fate, think about it. Just the random guy coming up to you, and now here you are in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And it was just something as simple as just like, all right.
And he's been my writer. He's my chief writer for the last 42 years. I mean that sincerely. I mean, I could show you at the end of a game, I would have maybe 35 to 40 small pieces of Post-it notes with little facts on them that he makes out in the afternoon. I said, when do you do that stuff? He said, I usually do it like about an hour before I come over here.
And he just has it all. Now, do you look back at your career, or just like you look back and you see these like moments of chance that
Oh, without question.
Isn't that weird when you do that?
Yeah.
What do you? Go ahead.
My whole career is based on luck. my entire career. And I'm not trying to be again falsely modest or anything, but it's just based on luck. I was just in the right place at the right time. You know the BZ story, WBZ.
Yeah,
you know that, right?
Wait, not off the top of my head. Okay, what's the WBZ story?
Okay, I'm a year out of the military. I'm not getting any kind of jobs. I don't want to get any kind of job, and except in the business. But I can't get in the business because they want a resume and they want tape. And I don't have either because I've never done it before. So I said to my parents, I said, look, I want to go over to WBZ and see if I can get myself a job. If I can't, I'm going down to Situate where I had been offered a teaching job. As a substitute teacher. I said, I'd go down there, forget about these dreams I have of being a sportscaster, and off I'll go to be a teacher. So I pull up at the guard shack at WBZ, Soldiers Field Road, where I used to be. And the guy says, can I help you? And I said, yeah, I'm here to see Gil Santos, who was the best radio football announcer I've ever heard, also did basketball. So he said, he takes out his little folder and says, do you have an appointment? And I said, no. He said, well, you come to see Gil, but you have an appointment? He said, do you have a tape? I said, no. He said, do you have any kind of script or radio thing you did? I said, no, because I've never done one. And this guy just looks at me and he goes, look, why don't you go find yourself a small radio station somewhere? And he gets started. And, okay, let's just move on. So he steps back and I'm turning the car on and the ignition back on. I'm saying to myself, that's it, babe. You are now, look out, youth of America, here I come. I'm the new teacher in school. I start to pull out, and all of a sudden this guy puts his hand up in front of the windshield again. I said, oh, no, what do you want now? I put down the windshield, roll it down, and he says, what's that? He points to the back seat of my car. And in the back seat of my car was a baseball cap that said VP-44 on the front of it. VP-44 was a squadron that was in the military up in Maine. And he said, you in VP-44? I said, yeah. I said, I was in VP-8. I said, no kidding. And so we talked for about 5 or 10 minutes about flying and blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden he says, puts his hand up, just hold on. He goes to the phone, he picks up the phone, I'll never forget this. He dials it, and he goes, Gil, Mr. Santos, this is John down at security. I got a guy here who really could use some advice about getting in the business. I hate to call you on something like this, but could you have some time to talk to him? Yeah, thanks very much. Hangs up the phone, looks at me and says, Gil's going to meet you at the front door.
Wow.
I'm in.
Wow.
I'm in. I meet Gil at the front door. Gil likes me. We've talked for about 45 minutes or an hour. He calls Paul Levesque. God bless Paul. I didn't know if Paul is still with us or not. But down at WNBH in New Bedford. And says, hey, I got a guy here who's real good. Armed Forces Radio and TV. When he said that, I said, I've never been Armed Forces Radio and TV. And he's like, oh, don't worry about that. He gave me the first good piece of advice I got in this business was get yourself in the door doing anything. My first job was changing tapes on the all-night elevator music station that we had down there at WMYS. There's a big, serious rolls of tape that were on these big metal containers you have to put into this machine. Anyway, that's what I did for a while, and then I moved up to doing the morning news. And Mark Haynes, the guy, called me from Providence who had heard me and said, you want to come over here and work? And I said, sure. I got to Providence. Met Dave Gavitt there in the Big East. It's just all happening.
It's funny you mentioned Gil too, Mike, because when you were talking about Dick Lipe, your statistician, the first time I ever knew that job existed to that extent of how important it was Roger Holman, who I think did it for Gil and Gino for years as a statistician. And I played golf with him once, and he was explaining to me like what he did. And I was like, you do what now? Exactly. But it was during the broadcast, and that was his job.
You had a God shot, because your talent took you to where you are, but the moment of him seeing the baseball cap in the back seat is like a God shot. Like it was almost meant to be.
No question. Because I am literally about to drive out of the parking lot and down to Situate to meet this guy to put my name on the substitute teacher list if I didn't get a job. And if the guy had not looked back, he said, look back and seen VP-44. I don't know where I am today.
You know what they say? They say if you are open and make yourself available to those moments, that they happen more often than you think. But if you don't, if you close yourself off to that they won't happen. So part of that is being available to it. You know what I'm saying? That you went down to BZ. You know?
Yeah, it was. I can remember really a combination of excitement and fear of what was going to happen. You know, I mean, once the guy gave me a salute, he said, you know, good luck. I didn't tell you that, but he stood at attention and saluted me. He said, good luck, Lieutenant, as he opened the gate to let me into the VZ parking lot. And I walk over and Gil Santos is standing in the lobby waiting for me to get over there. I'm saying to myself, well, this is going to either turn out to be a grand slam or it's going to be a major fucking screw up, on my podcast.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Now,
that was my busy story. But I am not. Hopefully, I'm the winningest coach in basketball history in Massachusetts. I don't know what I am.
Right.
If that guy hadn't looked in the back seat.
Okay. Now, do you have people asked for your ear? That like Chris Berman. You just told the story the other. So people have asked for your ear because Gil Santos didn't have to talk to you, but you when you talked to him. He was nice and he hooked you up. Has that happened to you in reverse?
Has it happened to me in reverse? Yes, it has on a couple of occasions. And I've been able to help some people out. To get a shot, that's what you try to tell them. Look, I can't get you a job. I can get somebody to look at you or maybe to listen to you. And then it's up to you. I can't do it anymore than that. But yeah, it's a God shot. I've never heard that expression before. That's what it was.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because if you look back at your life, you can think of times where things like that happened that are kind of unexplainable. The idea that he would recognize that, the idea that you had a shared experience like that, and that if you put yourself in those situations with an open mind, that there will be these moments that if you take advantage of them are there. So that's a way I just blew everyone's mind, huh?
Well, but they're not immediately recognizable. It takes some time because, like you said, Mike, it's like, okay, that opening, but then it got you into doing some other things and you're changing tapes in the middle of the night. I'm sure Fred has a story about his first job. I've got one about my first job. And at the time, I didn't realize it because all it did was got me a chance to do overnights for free for 3 weeks because they forgot to pay me. But it takes years to look back and say, oh, it was that one moment where it kind of happened. Without that moment, I don't think it happened.
Or not getting a job. You so badly wanted a job because all your friends were making money and you weren't making any money and your friend's making $30,000 and he can pay his rent and you're living at home and you're like, I'm desperately crying. I can't get a job. I can't get a job. But if I would have gotten one of those jobs, I wouldn't have had this job. And now I'm miserable. No, I'm just kidding. No. Look at how it worked out. All right. Well, Mike, I like that interview. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah.
I like the way that went. Let's not even drag the Celtics into it. I like that. I like the way they did it.
Let's just say goodbye.
All right.
Tell Bill I say goodbye.
Okay.
Did you hear that guy? Woof. Hachi Machi, the reverence.
I don't know that.
Can you imagine?
We'll save that one for next week.
Can you imagine the reverence that guy has for another human being walking this earth? My God. Hachi Machi. All right, Mike. Everyone loves Mike Gorman. Mike, we appreciate it as always, son, sir, man of the people.
Yeah.
Talk to you next week.
All right,
Thanks,
thank you,
Mike.
Mike Gorman.
That's amazing. He's told a lot of stories. I've known him for a while. I've never heard that baseball cap
Years
story.
ago, he told me that BCM when we were used to do a weekly thing. I remember that. It was just totally random.
Yeah.
God shots, they're there.
Yeah.
If you think back, if you're open to them, they say that, there will be many, many days that are a struggle. There's many days where things aren't going your way. But with time, if you leave your mind open and see the signs,
it's happened to all of us.
Pointing in the right direction. Or
you don't see it at the time, but it's happened to everybody in this business at one time or another.
Mike Gorman is presented by Bentley University, a force for business, a force for good. All right, we shall return. Hardy, for one, is very excited about this big game coming up on Sunday.
Oh,
you should hear him. He won't shut up about it. And it's not even the game much.
It's the parties and it's the food and it's just the days leading up to it. Just I can't get enough.
Do you feel like a bigger loser when people go, "What are you doing for the Super Bowl?" And you're just like, "I don't know." Yeah. I'm supposed to give the kids back at 8. I'm not positive. Is this and I'm afraid, kind of afraid to reach out, saying do you want the kids or I'll take them for the whole game? Can this be
back at halftime?
Yeah, exactly.
Halftime.
What?
Can't, man.
This is I'm in a bit of a purgatory here.
Yeah.
All right. So Hardy will catch you up with everything that's happening for your big-time party and everything that's going on around the game. We'll have that for you. Here are the headlines.
BackstageCountry.com, your online home for all things country music. Award-winning movies often have incredible soundtracks, and many of those have gone on to become country gold. We've picked our top 5 country songs that have been nominated for an Oscar. Text Oscar to 45911 to see if your favorite made the list on BackstageCountry.com. Text Oscar to 45911 and we'll send the link straight to your phone.
We're back with Toucher and Hardy on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
I ain't got too much to say. It's the Super Bowl. We're going to win that bitch. Super Bowl.
Europe. It is Toucher and Hardy. This hour of our show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. You could just, if you're Europe, just re-release this now and give the kids a chance to experience it.
Especially leading up to the biggest day of our lives, the Super Bowl, Fred, and I can't get enough of it. I mean, yes, it's about the game. It's about the men of the gridiron and the leaders of those men and the X's and the O's and shooting the A-gap and running wheel routes. But I want everything. I want to know what's going on. I want to be a part of the Super Bowl week, the super cool stuff, the Maxim party. I want to get into this stuff. I want to know what's going on in the Super Bowl host city, and I'm sure you do too, Fred.
Well, I heard Mike Lombardi's out there, so it's a huge party.
Mike Lombardi is out there, and Felger and Maz and Beetle and Zoe, and just everything is happening. And what happens in Las Vegas? I'll tell you one thing, Fred. What happens in Vegas ends to stay in Las Vegas. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you don't want those out. I mean, hookers.
But there's a lot of nudity in Las Vegas, and whether it is the prostitutes or whether it is the jiggly rooms, the Spearmint Rhino,
wow,
the Crazy Horse 2, which my next door neighbor when I lived in Las Vegas was one of the managers of. The Crazy Horse 2.
That is a great neighbor to have. I would imagine that his house was a fun house to be in. For like a week, and then maybe it would run its course.
His name was Greg, and he was an older guy. He's probably as old as I am now, but to me, in my late 20s, that somebody in their 50s was an old guy. He was an old school Vegas guy. He was a casino manager for Bob Stupak at Casino World. And, old school used to keep exotic animals. Even in his townhouse in Las Vegas, he had a monkey and he had all these reptiles. He used to bring them years ago into the casino. He's like, I used to have this cougar. Well, I'm like, it's kind of dead in here tonight. Why don't you go home and get the cat and walk the cat through the casino? And he would do stuff like that. But he got away.
Tortured the animals.
Got away from the casino business and got into the more lucrative, more stable world of exotic dancers at the Crazy Horse 2.
Yeah. Okay.
And he had a lot of nice things. You remember the movie Say Anything when they're investigating the father for tax fraud and they said stuff like, are there a lot of items in the house at $10,000 and under, just under the 10,000 mark? Greg had a lot of stuff like that. In a very modest townhome, he had like this beautiful gazebo built around a hot tub. Price tag probably right around $9,000.
Paid for in cash, yes.
Like took the tile and carpet out of the townhouse and had distressed oak put in. Just one room at a time, probably at a cost of about $9,800 each time he did it. He had a Ford Pantera. Remember that car?
Yeah.
He had custom-built Harleys that weren't super nice, but I imagine he was trading them out and spending, right around $10,000 at a time for used motorcycles. Anyway, the nudity is not relegated just to the strip clubs. There's a lot of nudity happening in Las Vegas.
Well, naked and afraid, more like naked and arrested. This man caught on video driving away in the F-150 vehicle. Started at Cimarron and Blue Diamond, ending with a crash miles away.
It's like real-life Grand Theft Auto.
I interviewed 38-year-old Kyle Even over the phone. The same phone he used to film this Tuesday night from his car, encountering a man he says casually walking in the middle of the street.
And the cop kind of seemed like he was like protecting him from somebody coming through and hitting him.
The police say the call came around 11. The video starts with the arriving officer pulling the 29-year-old naked man out of the Ford F-150. But a brief fistfight later, the officer unable to take back control before over 6 miles of travel from Cimarron and Blue Diamond.
All right, whoa. So the cop pulls over. The cop has got a gun, right? And like tasers and batons and everything. He pulls this guy over. This guy's got nothing on him. He's naked as a jaybird. And the guy eludes him for 6 miles on foot?
Well, no, he jumps in the cop car and drives away.
Oh, well, you can't just get back in the cop car. You can get hepatitis.
Right. Well,
I mean, you could get crabs all over that.
Right.
I kind of feel for the cop, too. It's like, you can fight somebody, but when that person is naked, it changes the dynamic, doesn't it?
Yeah, but in my favor, I would imagine. They seem a lot more vulnerable. They don't got a gun on them unless they're keistering it, and that's going to be a situation to get out.
But if you're a cop, do you always ride around with gloves on, especially when you're working in the desert? I mean, are you going to put your hands all over the naked guy?
I would think if I'm pulling guy over, I'm putting gloves on. I think the first thing I'm doing is putting gloves on. I would imagine with dealing with the people that they have to deal with, I'm wearing gloves all the time. I've got because I don't want anything puncturing. I'm wearing like what knights used to wear. Like, I don't want a needle getting anywhere in that. I want a suit of armor. And it's not even, because I'm not even afraid so much that you're going to shoot me as I'm going to get your diseased body on me.
Yes.
Before over 6 miles of travel from Cimarron and Blue Diamond up to Rainbow and Hacienda.
After taking control of the vehicle, he sped off. Even says followed by a horde of vehicles this way. Police say he eventually
Did they put in the guy running, like the sound of a guy running?
It sounded like he was running away.
Yeah, I mean, they really are adding to it.
By the way, one of the neighborhoods he mentioned where this started was about a mile from where Burt Breer's Airbnb is for the week.
Oh, good.
Well, I mean, it's an Ohio State alum. They should have checked him for Buckeye tattoos.
When he showed me where he was staying, I'm like, don't go up this road.
Yeah, you were being as nice
strip.
as you possibly could. It's like, well, it's an okay neighborhood, but you can't turn left.
When you got to go to Radio Row, here's what I would do. I would just go east out of the subdivision there. Just get on Las Vegas Boulevard and go up that way.
Don't take a left at that light.
Did this guy have a red O tattooed on him? Because I guarantee you, Bert's hard-on frat friends all have Ohio State tattoos. Boy, do they love a place they spent 4 years. Or 6.
To Rainbow, crossing over the center and driving north into southbound lane. Ending here.
I thought the cop was going to just handcuff him, and that was going to be
handcuff him. I thought the cop was just going to handcuff him, but he made like John Henry and let me down.
I was worried I was going to run out of memory on my phone. I was videotaping for so long.
Sent my mom a little video. And
I was going to send my mom. I was going to say, look at these jingle jangles. They're walking all over the road. Hey, Ma, guess what Daddy saw?
You said there's no trees in Las Vegas, but look at this twig and berries. I found
my
something
stars.
out here.
I almost fainted on the spot after I taped them for 20 minutes. I mean, for 6 miles, I was just in neutral, pushing the car and taping away. It was like a crane shot. I was just moving along. You'll notice my hand is completely still, but my other one was feverishly moving.
Yeah, and I was going to send my mom a little video.
But the phone slipped out of my hand on account of all the Jergens.
Send it to your mother?
Yeah, I was going to send. Yeah, Mom. Guess what?
He's going to send the picture of the naked guy to his mom.
Yeah, it's usually just pictures of Mark Hamilton, but I just said no. Today is the special one. This is like the girl next door, but it's a boy naked on the street.
Mom, it's my new boyfriend. Check him out.
And I was going to send my
John,
mom
I wouldn't take this guy. He's dangerous.
Laugh at it.
The officer left with minor injuries, and the public watching this video again and again.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Home run for me.
Good for you.
I went viral as sin. Viral like the stink of the dang Red Sox.
There was another naked story, if you can believe it, from Las Vegas. This one, another person running afoul of the law.
New at 6, Metro Police arrest a man accused of exposing himself inside a strip resort. Arrest report shows Brian.
What? I honestly don't know. I'm not going to even. A strip resort?
Yeah, well, on the Las Vegas Strip and the hotels and casinos.
I'll tell you, between
the
road names and the way that they say things, this is very Vegas-centric.
Yeah, and by the way, Rainbow Boulevard, there's not a lot good going down on Rainbow Boulevard. That was where the accident took place with the Raiders wide receiver when he was driving his
Ruggs, right?
Yeah, Ruggs, 140 miles an hour down Rainbow Boulevard. And the guy there ended up with the cop car on Rainbow Boulevard. This is on the Strip, though. This is a strip resort.
Arrest report shows Brian Danilzik got into a fight at the Flamingo, just before 11:30 last night. Police say he then ran into the link, took off his clothes, and started running and screaming.
This lady has had I might say that I'm not going to, this good lady might have had a glass of sherry before the broadcast because she sounds like me.
Just the cooking sherry.
I mean, she's got a mouthful of marbles. I can't make heads or tails of what she's saying.
This guy's tripping off his clothes in the Flamingo. I think that's commonplace. Going over to the link to do it, though, that's where you're going to raise eyebrows.
Yeah.
In the Flamingo, fine. That's going to happen. But
Now, this is Old Vegas? Where is the Flamingo?
The Flamingo is still right there on the main part of the Strip, Las Vegas Boulevard.
Off his clothes and started running and screaming through the casino. He later went to Harrah's, still naked.
And again, that's okay. Flamingo naked, fine. Link, not okay.
Yeah.
Harrah's, you can be naked in Harrah's.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that's going to be much of an
I've
issue.
stayed at Harrah's with Rich. We stayed at Harrah's one time.
So you know what it's like in there.
Yeah, it's not nice.
No,
it's a lot of carpet.
It's
a lot of old carpet. A lot of that carpety smell, like that old damp. This carpet's had a lot of drinks spilled on it, like tens of thousands of drinks.
I tell you get one of those carpeting contracts at the casino, you don't have to have any other jobs because it just goes all year long. You work from like midnight to 4 a.m., starting Sunday night through Thursday. You recarpet a portion of the casino. Then you stop, and everything happens. And by the time you get done with the job, it's time to start recarpeting. Where you started
not at Harrah's.
But it's like painting the Golden Gate Bridge. Time to start it all over again.
I'll tell you, because if you carpeted Harrah's in 1962, you're still living off that. You better have invested it very well. Because Harrah's, yes. And the same with the bedding. Not new.
The comforter. Take that comforter off.
Yeah, he didn't even want to get a place because we were in L.A. and we only went for the night. But I'm like, dude, I got to have a place like at least to like close my eyes. Like I just need to have a home base.
Naked and even jumped onto a poker table. Danilzik faces several charges and will be in court August 17th.
All right, lady. Well, maybe slow down a little bit on that consumption before you hit the air.
Gyrating on top of the poker table. Naked. So that's what's going on in the Super Bowl host city.
Finally, something's happening during poker that makes it somewhat interesting. I would applaud that. I would love that. If you're sitting down there all night just doing coke and just playing cards for boringly, I'd take that every day. I'll take it too. Heavens to Murgatroyds. All right, we'll be right back. Billy Jaffe is scheduled to join us.